My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Hellfest. And this will be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen it, go and watch it, then come back and watch my review because I will be going in depth. I've actually only ever been to one haunted house. I've always wanted to go to Universal Horror Nights. Like, I've seen some of the videos there, and it just looks terrifying. I don't know if I'll be able to handle it, but I still really want to go. The only one I've ever been to is the Walking Dead amazing at Universal Studios, and that just terrified me. Maybe I'm just a giant pansy, but my goodness, while I was going through that, every corner I knew something was going to jump out at me or something, and it really got to me. And then at the end, there was these two metal fences, and all these arms are reaching out at you, and oh my goodness, it was just terrifying, but I loved it. This movie came out in 2018, which is pretty funny because there was another movie that came out in 2018 with a very similar premise called Bloodfest. So you got Hellfest and Bloodfest. And I've seen them both, and this movie is by far superior. Never, ever, ever watch Bloodfest. That movie is legitimately one of the worst pieces of shit I've ever seen in my life. It is just so awful. But anyways, this is a movie with a fantastic premise, and I don't think it lives up to it. Let's begin talking about the cast. First with Amy Forthis, who I've never seen in anything else but this movie before, and she's fine in this movie. It's not like it's a great charismatic performance, but it's just fine for what this movie needed. Then you've got her best friend, played by Rain Edwards, and she's fine for the most part, but I thought she was really bad in the last act of this movie. When things start picking up and it's getting more chaotic, she just overdoes it, and I don't think it works at all. Then you've got one of her friends played by taylor-klaus, and I've got the feeling that people probably like her performance the best in this movie, but I just found that she was trying too hard and it never seemed natural. Like, she's not bad in the movie, but she's trying hard and it's just fine. Then you've also got Christian James and Matt Mercurio, who play two of the random guys there, and they're fine, I guess. Like, I wouldn't say they're bad, but they don't add anything to the movie. And then you've got Wabi Attell, who plays Gavin. And my name, Gavin, isn't really a common name, so whenever I hear it in a movie, I probably get way too excited. I'm just like, oh, that's my name! Like, my name exists in this movie, in the remake of Pete's Dragon, and I can't think of much else. So, I don't know. It's just, when someone's named Gavin, I'm just like, me. People named Tyler, Brad, Mike, Jen, Amy, or whatever, they probably don't get that as much as me because their names are in like every movie. But for a guy with a name like mine, I like seeing my name in movies. Well, I like hearing my name in movies, I guess. But anyways, Wabi Attell as Gavin, he's really bad in this movie. I think he gives the worst performance. Just nothing about him seems natural. His awkwardness with the main girl just feels so incredibly forced, and you don't buy their romance for even a second. That all said, the cast is fine enough, and for a slasher movie, that's usually what you get. Most slasher movies don't have phenomenal performances filled with depth and nuance. This cast doesn't bring the movie down because it's exactly what you'd expect from this kind of movie. And I like my cliche characters in a movie like this. Where I think the movie really falters though is in the villain, because I found this villain to be so generic and boring. He's an obvious Michael Myers ripoff, and one day I'm going to review every single Halloween movie, and when I do, I'm sure I'm going to get destroyed because I do not like those movies, and I do not like Michael Myers, and I do not like the villain in this movie. I just think he's very bland without an ounce of personality, and there's no distinguishable features about him that really allow him to stand out. Like, the main character only recognizes him through his boring mask and steel-toed boots, and if those are your two defining features, you didn't write the character interesting enough. And like, even at the end of this movie, he opens a closet filled with all these different masks. And I'm just like, why didn't he wear one of those? At least he'd stand out a bit more. But anyways, I actually love the idea of this movie, of them setting a horror movie at one of these Halloween horror nights. I just think that's such a great idea with lots of potential, and unfortunately the movie just doesn't live up to it. I don't even like the portrayal of this location because it doesn't feel like a Halloween horror night. And to be fair, I haven't been to one, but everything about this location feels less like a haunted house night and feels more like a rave. And because of that, it just ruins any potential atmosphere or tension this movie could have. The location is just too over the top. It's too bright, it's too noisy, and it just doesn't work for a horror movie. if they kept it more in the dark and just focused on the haunted house aspect of it, I feel like this movie could have been a lot more effective. Also, it kind of bothers me how in the opening scene of this movie, he kills a girl, and then apparently he doesn't kill anyone for a few years, and now he decides to kill again. Like, why did all that time pass without him killing anyone? Like, there's no reason given. So I thought that was really poorly handled. I really don't like the friend characters because the main girl is easily the most likable, and she's just like, I don't know if I want to do this. And then her friends are just like, come on, do it. And they kept pushing her until she eventually caves, and they're like, yay! And they do this time and time again. It's just like, you guys are such shitty friends. Like, there's even one moment where someone at the park does this fake puke on her, and they just start laughing at her. Like, if I was her, I'd be like, you know what, screw you guys, I'm out. I hate you guys, because maybe that says a lot more about me, but that's just the way I would be. But because of that, you don't care for most of the characters, and then this movie makes the terrible mistake of killing Gavin off way too early. Yes, you never kill Gavin off early. That's just a common rule for horror movies. And I might be a bit biased in me saying that. But actually, like, those two are meant to be the romance, the couple that you root for throughout the movie. And then you just kill the guy off early on for the sake of subverting expectations. And now you're just like, well, where's the progression? What do you have left to root for? I don't like most of these characters, and now the characters have just become stagnant. No one grows in this movie. There's no sort of progression with any of the characters. So killing Gavin off early on was a really bad mistake. And I also think this movie has some terrible contrivances. Look, every horror movie is going to find some kind of convoluted way to make sure that the characters can't get help. But you have to find a good way of writing it into the movie. Like, the security guy in this movie is the absolute worst. No security guy would act the way this security guy acts in this movie. And I'd be okay with that if the guy wasn't so serious. Like, if they just made it this campy element of the movie that it's just a purposely poorly written security guy and they just camped it up a bit, I think that would have worked. But instead they try to ground in reality and this guy being like, yeah, I'm not going to help you because, I don't know, your friends are probably just drunk or something. And I'm just like, I don't buy this for a second. And then she's texting Gavin, and then all of a sudden she tries calling 911 and she can't call him all of a sudden. Like, her phone doesn't have a signal. Really? Like, she was just texting 2 seconds ago. And then the whole angle of people getting killed in front of them and them thinking that it's fake is just awful. It doesn't work. It's just too obviously real. Like, if you don't think that's real, you're just an idiot. But this movie's also got some other dumb moments. Like, there's one moment where the main girl is on this ride by herself, and they stop this ride to try and scare her, and it was just the cheapest fake scare they could have come up with. And then there's one scene where she's drying her hair, and he's standing right next to her, but she can't hear him or see his shadow or just feel him at all. I don't really buy that. And then, okay, this is a nitpick, and it's a very odd nitpick. But the main girl goes to the bathroom. She's done, she wipes, and then she continues texting on her phone. What the hell? No, that's just wrong. No, don't do that. Absolutely not. And then the guy starts banging on the bathroom stall door, and then she just crawls under the stall into the next stall, and she thinks she's safe. Like, it's just stupid. But the weakest aspect of this movie is the directing. Gregory Plotkin just directs this movie so terribly. I already complained about how he completely mishandles the location, and he really does. Like, if this movie took place at night, and they make their way through these haunted houses, and they just put you in the shoes of these characters, it could have been really, really effective. But instead, he tries to shoot it like a music video, and it's so bright and loud, and it's just no atmosphere and no tension at all. And you get a sense of that from the very beginning because the opening kill in this movie is just pathetic. Just absolutely pathetic. This girl's walking through the haunted house, and then it keeps cutting to the opening credits, and then back to the girl, and then to the opening credits, and back to the girl, and it just takes you out of the moment time and time again. And then the big opening kill is that he just stabs her. Give me a break. You can be more creative than that. I also thought the story with the opening girl is actually really horrific because they tell you that she gets killed and no one noticed for days later because they thought she was part of the haunted house, that they left her up until she started to stink. And like I think it would be much more effective if she got killed, she gets left there, and then the opening credits, it's like a bunch of these news articles and people walking by her and then someone realizing it. I think that would be a much more effective way to begin this movie. In the music for this movie, I really didn't like. It had more of an electronic sound to it, and it just doesn't fit this kind of movie. Like, listen to the score from Joseph Bishora from Insidious. It is a terrifying, eerie, atmospheric score. Sometimes when I'm driving and it's on, I just get chills listening to it. It's just so good, and then you listen to the music here and it just takes you out of it. But there are some good things about this movie, mainly the last act. I do enjoy the last 20-25 minutes of this movie, the final showdown. This is the one time in the movie where I feel like it actually utilizes the location and actually delivers. It's not the greatest, most terrifying thing ever, but it's at the very least entertaining and you're engaged with what's happening. I also like how they use the additional sound from the haunted house to just add to the panic and fear that the characters are feeling. I thought that was effective. And even though it ruins any bit of atmosphere, at least this movie is colorful, it's bright, it's not ugly to look at. The production design is legitimately great. I'm not sure if like they actually made these sets or if they went to an actual Halloween Horror Night, but they're good regardless. And I do like the fact that this movie doesn't hold back on the brutality of the kills and moments. I wanted more of that, but there are some moments where I'm just like, oh man, that's really brutal. Like, I liked it. And I surprisingly really liked the last scene of this movie. It's not at all what you're expecting, but it's just something different, something that allows this movie to stand out in some way. Like, you just watch this horrific guy kill all these people, and you have a certain mindset about what kind of person he is, and then for him to go back to his house just for it to be revealed that he's just a typical dad with a kid, it's just a really disturbing note to end the movie on, and I really like that aspect of it. Look, this is not a terrible movie. There are good things about it, and you can see the potential throughout. It just makes it all the more frustrating that it doesn't live up to it. If this movie moved at a faster pace and had a director who utilized the location and knew how to create and build tension and atmosphere, I think this movie would be great. I don't mind the generic characters or the bad acting or the dumb moments. It's a slasher movie. It comes with a subgenre. Where this movie really comes short is the execution and the way they decide to film this movie. In shooting it more like a music video, the movie just ruins any bit of potential it could have. So I'm going to go ahead and give Hellfest, I almost forgot the title for a second, a 4 out of 10. If you want to watch a terrifying, great haunted house movie, then check out Hell House LLC. It is legitimately one of the scariest movies I've seen. It's really great. And you can also watch Haunt, which is a really good horror movie as well. But what did you guys think of Hellfest? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.